Okay, hi everyone, Slava here, and the title of my presentation is As-Built Modeling and BIM Data Lifecycle. So let's start with a short introduction. My name is Slava Ivanov, and I'm a BIM engineer based in Finland. Um, I've got a degree in material science and postgraduate in BIM for infrastructure. Currently, I'm working as a quality assurance and BIM engineer and doing some 3D modeling research and testing in my spare time. My employer is a company called NRC Group, originated in Norway and functioning across Nordics, mainly focused on heavy and light rail infrastructure. And there's a web page down below if you want to go and have a look for some more information on the company. And the project I'm currently working on is called Crown Bridges. This is a light rail project, 10 kilometers of light rail and accompanying infrastructure. The route will be connecting the city center of Helsinki with some areas scattered across the islands, and the operation is scheduled to begin by 2027. And there's a web page as well in case you want to have a look at the project, and yeah, there'll be plenty of information for you there behind that link. Yeah. And yeah, before we go any further, I would like to emphasize that my experience is mainly limited to infrastructure branch, infrastructure construction, and the information shown in this presentation is relevant for infrastructure construction and may slightly differ from the building construction projects. Yeah. So the topic is data loss is the problem, and we are talking BIM data loss here in this particular presentation. BIM data may have many names, shapes, and conductors used all through the facility lifespan, and certainly there's many ways to lose it. There's human factor, there's automation malfunction, there's some organizational issues. We won't be talking about them all today, but rather focus on the way to minimize the risk to lose your data. There's a diagram showing the facility lifespan, and the facility lifespan can be divided into a few phases, like design and construction, handover and maintenance, operation, and in the end it all results in demolition and redevelopment. And the transition between the phases is, in our opinion, is the weakest spot where data is usually being lost. Ideally, we want the same piece of information to circulate through all those phases, right? Undergoing certain updates and being handed over and over again. But instead, what we are experiencing right now is that we often have to create the new package of information for each phase, resulting in additional costs and time waste. Like an easy example is redrawing the models instead of updating the existing ones, or sometimes we have to reshape the value tables or rearrange the roles within the team. That's where the data is being lost in most cases. Another reason for data loss, in our opinion, is a large amount of different BIM platforms, tools, and formats, and most of them are not mutually intelligible. Like for instance, you can use one BIM platform to create a model, and then you transfer it to another one for rendering or updating something. And within this transition, the 3D geometry content is successfully carried over, but some metadata sets will be either cut out or hidden by the second platform. And the diagram at your right is here just to give you a slight perception of how many different platforms we are talking. See, there are some of them for just approval and rendering. Then we've got AR and laser scanning solutions. We've got machine control. We've got some different platforms for doing as-builds and quality assurance, and then there's, apart from all that, there's a few master data hubs we are dealing with because the organization is so massive. Yeah, we have to use at least 3 of them. Yeah, and the same data loss will happen in conversion from format to format, even when you're using the same BIM platform. And or if you are transferring data from one shape to another. I mean, for instance, from 3D to 2D, because some work profiles require just PDF drawings or just CSV tables, but some of them again require like full 3D. Um, yeah. And what we're trying to do, we're trying to minimize the amount of BIM formats we play around with. So most of our information now is stored either in XML, IFC, DWG, or PRN format. PRN, if you're not familiar with it, it's pretty much like CSV, just a text table, just looks slightly different. Yeah, and all of them 4 main formats we are using, they are yeah, they have their own different fields of application, but ideally we would want to see just one format that would serve all the purposes. Yeah, and those are just main formats, like all the formats we are using within just this one particular project are listed here, listed down here in red. So if you look at them all, there will be over 20 different formats to play around in, convert from one to another. Yes, and while data loss is probably not something you can eliminate 100%, it definitely is something you can minimize. So that's what we are going to talk about next. Yeah, and the first thing I would like to bring up here is the alliance contracting. The project I'm working on right now is an alliance project, and it basically means that all the parties involved into the project are working closely together, like if they were one joint organization. We have a lead group, like project lead group, that contains representatives from each interested party, and this leading group acts as a sort of a governing body for the project. So we make all the decisions together, we share risks together, we share the common workspace, which is really important. That significantly improves the communication within the project. Like, for instance, I can just walk 3 steps down and reach the person I need to talk to instead of composing an email, waiting for an answer, CCing other people, and just creating long email chains. And yeah, and information will get lost at some point for sure. Yeah. And also, it's worth mentioning, yeah, while we share all the risks and liabilities, we also share the bonuses and benefits, and they all are shared equally between the interested parties. Yeah, so we work together towards a mutual goal. Yeah, then another thing is the beam formats. From all the beam formats I listed in the slide number 6, we chose land XML as the preferred one, so we're trying to use it as much as possible. And there's a few reasons for that. Like, it's quite prominent, it's very well known, and it's been around the world. It's been around for a long time. And it works well on most BIM platforms we work with. Um, the syntax is pretty comprehensive. I mean, like, you can just open it in Notepad and just have a look what's in the file. Like, it's easily readable and does not require that much of a previous experience. And yeah, it does not require like complicated softwares and everything to have the new features. It's got some data presets you can play around with, and it's non-proprietary, so which goes well along with the open BIM principle. For instance, that's pretty much how I test the new ideas for the model, and just open it in Notepad, and then I just add a few extra presets or a few extra lines of code, and then I see if it's compatible with the platforms we're using and if it's any good for the project. If it's, yeah, that's how I'm testing the new ideas. And I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to diminish here the potential of IFC. Like, IFC is yeah, is a phenomenal format. It's got plenty of potential and plenty of applications already on this at this point, but it's a little bit more complicated to experiment on. And like, there's no way I would be able to do the same amount of testing and research and just playing around if I went for IFC instead of LandXML. Like, I mean, probably most of you at some point did open IFC file in the notepad area, and you know pretty much how it looks, what it looks like. Yeah, and also we're testing even some non-conventional applications for LandXML. For instance, here on this slide, second picture from the right, you can see those white pillars, and they represent the bearing capacity. It's like a diagram you put within your 3D model. So we're just testing if it's going to be any good or not. Yeah, but otherwise, what we include into our 3D model is survey data, basically like survey points, 3D geometry objects, so basically extruded geometry. We use external links to add the quality assurance, quality control, like facility management and other sorts of accompanying documentation. Then we use lots of photo video content, like the one at your right. You see the animated picture is a 360-degree panorama from a cable chamber. So basically it travels with together with the model, and when you click on the cable chamber on your pipe network model, you have access to this 360 panorama, so you can look directly into the cable chamber. Yeah, and also the presets of LandXML allow you to add some schedule data, that maintenance or environment footprint information. So yeah, that's a few reasons to use the LandXML as a main format. Yeah, we focus a lot on as-built modeling because we believe that this is the right phase of the project to make a global change. Like, the model we receive as an outcome is a as-built model or like full-scale digital twin model. It's got various applications compatible with the different 3D model viewing apps, with machine control and simulation systems, CAD platforms, AR and VR solutions. So yeah, there's plenty of ways to use that model we get as an outcome. Yeah, and within all of these solutions I just mentioned, you will still have an access to photo and video content, metadata, external links, and documentation, and everything. So basically, all this information package we produce will travel across those platforms as one single file. Yeah, that's another point in terms of preventing the data loss. So this way we are hoping to create something that can be reused and go through the whole circle around the facility lifespan, just like the diagram on one of the first slides of my presentation. Yeah, and another big reason to focus on as-builts is illustrated just here on this particular slide. You can clearly see the difference between the levels of design models and as-builts that we used to hand over in previous projects. So the one on the left is like nice and fancy 3D model with colors and everything easily distinguishable, and the one on the right is what we used to hand over before. So it's basically like lines and vertices, top view, drawing. So if you haven't been building this structure, you will have a hard time trying to understand what actually in there, what kind of structure. But if you put the same structure in 3D, you don't have to be an engineer to understand what's in there. And what we're trying to reach here, we want our BIM models to look like the picture on the left at any stage of the facility lifespan. Yeah. So we receive those models in 3D and we hand them over in 3D as well. Yeah. And the diagram in the middle shows you asset lifetime budget breakdown. So basically, yeah, it's the facility lifespan sectioned budget-wise. And you see here that actually operation and maintenance is the phase that takes nearly 2/3 of the lifetime budget, and this is where we really have the room for savings and optimization. And this is why we're focused on as-built so much. Yeah, and yet there is one more thing I like to mention. By the course of the current project, right? I created a simple cloud-based tool that helps me create survey-based 3D as-built models. So basically, what I do, I receive the survey points and lines, and I extrude them into 3D models. And then I add the metadata, accompanying documentation, or photo and video content, and turn them into a full-scale digital twin. The application is now able to read like CSV and PRN files just to extrude the survey data, and then it writes land XML as an outcome. So basically, it includes everything I mentioned before into one single file. And just like you see at the animation, yeah, you will have access to all sorts of information just by transferring one single file between different BIM platforms. Yeah, at the moment, the tool is completely free of registration and licenses. So if you are interested in knowing more about it or want to try it, yeah, do not hesitate to contact me directly. Yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for your attention, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions of yours. Thank you.